All right. So when we say design thinking is a CEO's strategy lens, right? I mean, there might be a lot of problem statements that the CEO is facing from time to time, right? But how to iteratively evolve from them, how to learn from them and iteratively evolve. You want to know more regarding the same, you can join my room.
Thank you, Nitin. Over to you, Samita.
Hi, everyone. Do you want to accomplish the task that somebody else is setting out for you, or do you want to take the initiative to solve real world problems? The difference is that when you're solving real world problems, you need those toolkits that can help you put the user in the center. So for that, design thinking becomes very important, and we can discuss those principles and how you can utilize them for your own leadership.
Linked to strategy, Samita.
Sorry?
How is this linked to strategy?
Putting the user in the center, so like that can when you're making any strategy, how is that going to like solve people's problems, or how are you taking people's perspectives into account?
Okay, thank you, Samita. Gaurav.
Hi everyone. So the future belongs to those who can adapt and innovate. So in this scenario, like you need a dynamic approach to navigate these uncertainties with confidence, and to understand how to challenge this status quo and think outside a box.
Gaurav, how is this linked to strategy?
I will be talking about how to come up with strategies to challenge these uncertainties with confidence.
I'm not talking about strategies to challenge uncertainty. Strategies that you're going to make for your department, strategies that you're going to make for your organization, strategies that you're going to use in your projects. When you say strategy, it's not about your own project, it's about a larger team. A strategy is for a larger team or for an organization.
Okay, I'll work on my.
So Nitin, yeah, so Samita and Nitin, if you want to come back later, you can come back later. Because I felt like it was more focused on individual work than on strategy. See, what is Nitin saying? Nitin is saying that when you're a leader, you run into so many problems. But when you run into so many problems, how do you iteratively come up with a strategy, right? For example, for Student Unicorn Lab, while hiring, he ran into some problem. So maybe the problem is too big, but how can he attempt it step by step and run into the solution? That's what he's offered through his pitch. So when we say strategy level thinking, it's not just at your level as an individual, but at a level of say a 20-member team, 30-member team at least, right? So how can you make strategies for an organization or a team or a project which a lot of people are working on? That's the angle we're looking to here. Yeah, over to you, Srija.
Hello, everyone. Have you ever wondered why CEOs are embracing design thinking principles for forming their strategies when they face a problem? Well, I'm wondering about it as well. So let's have a relaxed conversation about the reasons and discuss each other's point of views.
Yeah, thank you, Srija. Over to you, Manaswin.
Okay. We all know how design thinking is inherently a human-centered approach, and to understand humans, you need to understand psychology. So to know how design thinking combines strategic planning and psychology.
How is this linked to strategy, Manaswin?
I mean, the way you plan strategies by setting psychological frameworks, right? Like it involves key principles in psychology, like the two go hand in hand, basically. So
can
to know how they
give
go
one example, so I know what you're going to
tell. Like it's a very basic one, but
sure.
Like you said, like my Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Okay, how are you going to use
to
it?
Understand.
Where in which strategy can you use Maslow's hierarchy?
Like for example, if a client needs a product, you would understand which key needs to address first for the client, and then work your way up from there.
Okay. Okay, now how would you, so if you're a CEO, you're not just addressing one particular client, right? And one particular product,
yeah.
Right? So then what are you going to do with Maslow's hierarchy?
I mean, that was just like one example. There's multiple.
So the same example you can see from a CEO's perspective. That's the angle I'm trying to bring, right? You guys are thinking from an individual perspective. Society has confined you to think from an individual perspective, right? But the point of this LDI is to learn to think from a CXO or CEO perspective, right? The same Maslow's hierarchy, how do you see it from a CEO's perspective? If you're an individual, yes, you use Maslow's hierarchy to understand the client need and deliver. But if you're a CEO, what do you do with the same idea?
You can provide the same needs on a like bigger scale, right? It's
How?
not like
How?
it's limited
Exactly.
to.
How do you use the same idea on a bigger scale? Let's say when 30 members of your team use Maslow's hierarchy to understand clients and deliver, how can you do that?
Can I think about it for a bit?
Can you have an L&D program where you teach people how to do this? Can you give
Yeah.
proper feedback to people in terms of whether they diagnose the needs correctly or not? And that way make it a cultural thing that people use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to understand the client and then deliver. Now that becomes a CEO thing. How you ingrain it in the culture so that people automatically through the culture imbibe it, right? For example, in Deep Thought, initiative is coming in through culture, right? Where people are raising their hands and people are doing things. So how can you make that a cultural thing? So making anything a cultural thing is a CEO's job. If you're learning how to make something a part of a culture, you're being a CEO. Okay, Manaswini, you can always come back in some time. Rather, you should. Samida, Gaurav, Manaswini, you can come back once everyone is done. Yeah, Anjali, go ahead with your pitch.
Okay. Hi everyone. So as Tarun said, design thinking is a principle that most of the CEOs are following. And as of now, when we are as a student unicorn, what would be the highest project or something that would be handling? I believe it would be our own daily life, our own tasks, and our own team, as in whichever team we are working in. So to learn how to fake it till you make it, to learn how to implement design thinking in your life eventually, so that this come naturally to you when you become a CEO and when you're leading a team. To learn how to do this, please join my room.
I'm not sure if you fake it until you make it is
It-
consistent with Deep Thought's value system.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just to make you understand that when you are implementing such principles into your life on a daily basis, it comes as your habitual, and this thing will be.
Again, how is this coming up to strategic thinking and a CEO's vantage point, right?
Okay. So strategic thinking is something that you will be, you'll have to practice. It's not something that you'll get once you become a CEO. You have to inculcate it within you so that
Exactly. So what are you discussing about? See, the objective of today's LDI is to discuss if you were the CEO, how do you use design thinking to come up with better solutions for your company?
Yes.
Imagine today, Deep Thought tells Anjali, you come up with your strategy for Deep Thought, will implement it for the entire company. How do you think and how do you come up with a solution? For example, you see you have Aryan here. He's in eighth grade or eighth only, no, or 7.5. Eighth now, no, school started, no? Okay. So Aryan is in eighth grade. Now I gave him this problem statement of inculcating champion mindset in everyone. How to ingrain that into the culture. Now he has come up with his own drills. He has come up with his own mechanisms. That's his strategy. Where his strategy is not just about doing one job, but how can he ingrain that into the culture itself through Champion's House? That's him thinking like a CEO, right? He may not be the CEO today, but the CEO has cut his hand and said, okay, this power is yours, take it. He took it and he has done it. That's him being a CEO, right? Where he is the CEO for Champion's House. Or for that matter, Nitin is the CEO for Student Unicorn Lab. That piece, the autonomy is given to him. He's designing processes, he's designing strategies, and he's running it. How are you designing systems, processes, curating a culture? All these things are what CEOs do. The reason why I'm giving feedback for the pitches, by the end of this session, I want everyone to understand how can you learn to think like a CEO, right? You don't have to become a CEO to think like a CEO. You can start thinking already.
Yeah.
You are in an environment where your initiative is valued and appreciated. You come up with a plan, we'll only say do it. And if people stop you, you come to me, I'll make sure they don't stop you. So I want everyone to think like a CEO. You have all the authority, but how will you make this happen at a scale through process or system or ingraining it into culture? So you can come back in a while, Anjali. Over to you, Mitali.
Why just constrain design thinking to just your own projects, and why not on an organizational level? To know more about this, we can follow the double diamond approach. And if you want to know more about it, you can join my group.
How are you going to take it in the organizational approach?
Okay, so in double diamond approach, we try to solve problem. We try to take many
I
problems.
understand double diamond, you take problems, you explore solutions, fine. But how are you going to look at the organizational perspective?
We can consider organizational problems and individual problems.
Give an
and
example of organizational problem that you consider. Then come back. Yeah, Rishabh.
Hello, everyone. So please join in my room and let's discuss how we can harness the power of design thinking for innovative and strategic problem solving. For example, we'll explore how design thinking can help organizations reimagine their customer experience, and identify the scope of the market which are yet to be tapped, and create some winning strategies which can lead to the which can drive the growth of the company while giving the organization a competitive advantage as well.
Okay, I'm sorry for not questioning Rishabh, but I understand what he's going to talk because I think his pitch is very closely linked to his current project in DT. So I think it's on point. Yeah. Over to you, Harsh.
Hi everyone. Let's try to understand how design thinking is revolutionizing problem solving and driving organizational transformation by looking at some organizational success stories and seeing how they're using design thinking principles to achieve those results. Thanks.
Can you name which organizations and what story?
Airbnb, Apple, and IBM.
Okay, great. So he's looking at it from an organization's perspective. And Harsh, I'll appreciate in your room if you can also discuss, if you were the CEO of Airbnb, what would you do and why you would do that, right? I mean, what decision you take for the entire organization. That will help you connect with that concept in a bigger way. Yeah, what do you, English? English, and unmute. I request you to unmute yourself. You're still not audible. Would you want to?
Am I audible?
Now you're audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. So how CEO thinks and strategize when there is an idea, how he creates a value, pursue that idea and make it live long enough. All we can do strategize by design thinking principles. Please join my room to discuss.
Okay. Over to you, Riddhi.
Hi everyone. So let's look at design thinking strategies from an industry perspective. So an example that I would like to take is healthcare industries. Let's understand how they, emphasize on enhancing patients' experience through their in-depth observation interviews and in-depth feedback mechanisms.
Okay. Thank you, Riddhi. Over to you, Sanchi.
Join me in my room as we embark on the journey of design thinking. We'll explore how this innovative approach, originally a products manager toolkit, has evolved into a powerful strategy embraced by CEOs. We'll learn from real life examples and learn how design thinking has shaped the success of companies like Nike. If you're curious to dive into the exciting topic, I invite you to my room.
Was this ChatGPT generated?
No. I took an idea from ChatGPT and wrote the whole pitch.
Okay, so what are you going to discuss about Nike?
FlySknet. It's a product for athletes designed by Nike. It was.
Okay, so how is this going to bring the CEO perspective or strategy perspective?
It's more of user-centric approach for.
User-centric approach is fine, but we're talking of how we can look at design thinking, not just for designing products, but also for organizational strategies. You can come back in a while if you want after thinking about it. Yeah, what do you, Harshvardhan?
So I think design thinking allows an organization to change their mindset, to move towards asking questions rather than just coming up with ideas and just doing, asking the right questions. Will this actually benefit the user? Will this, you know, will this succeed? Is this desirable? I think the whole design thinking process helps that, and let's discuss on that topic in my room.
Thank you, Harsh. Over to you, Swanand.
Yeah. So design thinking is segregated in three stages: ideation, experimentation, and iteration. If you are a CEO and you want to look at how you can inculcate and implement these three stages in your marketing area, please join my room.
Yeah. Thank you, Swanand. Again, same reason why I'm not questioning you as Rishabh, because I think what you're proposing is what you're doing in your project. Yeah. Over to you, Saurav.
So going from prototype to scaling your solution is the one of the crucial step that you take in the design thinking. Now, while scaling your solution, what are the challenges you face? What are the changes do you make to your recruitment? What are the changes do you make to your operations? What are the changes do you make to your marketing as well? So let's discuss what are the challenges you face while going from prototyping to scaling up the solution.
Saurav, by far, this was the best pitch today. Wonderful and pretty comprehensive. You really realize how a CEO thinks, right? You have an idea, you have to think of it from different angles to make sure that the idea wins.
Yeah.
Right? Very nice pitch. Really like
I,
it.
I have been observing the deep thought, how it has been going.
What do you, Mohit?
So to strategize, right? So while making a plan, right? A CEO or a leader, they want to understand how every stakeholder who is related to that particular project is thinking about that, right? So we need to empathize with different people who are relying on that, right? So for that, design thinking, what design thinking does is basically keep that person at the center, right? And we empathize how this will affect that user, right? So in my room, let's understand how we can think from everyone's perspective.
Again, that's a very good perspective you brought in, Mohit. I think someone has to merge all the stakeholders' perspectives and do it, right? And usually it's somebody at the top. Yeah. Thank you, Mohit. And if you're thinking that way, you're thinking like somebody at the top. Yeah. What do you, Vishwa?
So design thinking is important in UX design because it helps to define skills to understand and address rapid changes in users' environment and behaviors. Want to apply the same thing as a CEO to solve problems? Please join my room.
How?
So that we can actually design thinking has 5 stages: empathize, define, ideate.
Same thing as a CEO.
What?
How will you apply the same thing as a CEO?
So I'll empathize with the users to know what their needs are, and then I'll go on and define the problems that my users are facing, and then I'll ideate, and then I'll provide a challenge so that the ideas can come up and that we can think of a solution, and then I can prototype a product so that I can give it out for the users
You're not being
to try.
CEO, you're just being an individual contributor. You're not being a CEO. You're not thinking at an organization level, you're thinking at an individual level there.
Give me some
When
time.
you think of the level of process, system, or when you're thinking at the level of culture, you're thinking CEO. Like you look at Saurav, right? What did he say? I have an idea. I want to implement the idea. What do? What are the processes I'll need for it? What is the kind of team I'll need for it? So how do you, get all these individual pieces in place so that your idea becomes reality versus pitch? Or you look at Mohit, what did he say? You have an idea. You want to be user-centered, all right, but there are different stakeholders there. How do you see it from each stakeholder's perspective and make sure you're carrying all the stakeholders together? Now that's again CEO's vantage point. So I think you or Nitin, right? What did you say? That as a CEO, how do you iteratively evolve that strategy that you're making, right? You made a process, but that process that you made, how can you make it better next time? How can you make it better next time? Or even your own pitch, if I think about it, as a CEO, how can you come up with problem statements, give them to people, let them solve it, give them the facilities to prototype, right? How do you enable them to prototype those ideas? And how do you make this a cultural thing that people work on these problems and prototype these problems before? So I mean, Google has this thing, right? They have flexible Fridays so that people try something new. So can you have a cultural idea to make people prototype? If you're thinking that way around your thing, you're thinking as a CEO. But if you're saying, no, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that, then you're not thinking as a CEO. You're thinking as a individual contributor. I'm not saying individual contributor is wrong, but today's LDI is discussing how you can think like a CEO, right? Yeah, audio, Shawan.
Yeah. So I think in every organizations, right, there is like some sort of bottlenecks or problems that actually like take some more time in the operational bandwidth, right? So I think problems is fine, but I think it is very crucial to also identify those problems, diagnose, and also look for solutions, right? So I think design thinking also teaches you about how to spot problems and also diagnose, right? Being it one of the important points, right? Like for example, say today we discussed about, I mean, say if there is any small problems in any team, right? Say they are, it's more of a like manual work or something, where we also diagnose how we can solve that using technology, right? So how do we strategize, or we like first of all we find out the problems and then make a strategy, and not just we make a strategy, but how do we spread it, right? So that others can also, I mean, follow that. So to understand more, you can join my room.
So Vishwa, again, if you see Shawan's pitch, right? He said, how can we make sure everyone does this step? How can we make sure everyone finds the bottlenecks and uses design thinking to solve them? So it's not just us doing it, but that becoming a cultural thing. Now he's again thinking like a CEO, right? It's not just him, but a team that gets impacted by it. Yeah, audio, Sai Kiran.
Design thinking helps the CEOs to improve the company's financial strategies by incorporating the consumer's feedback, supporting the innovation, and adopting the repetitive problem solving to generate the sustainable development and the profitable. So in order to discuss more about how the design thinking helps the CEOs to think, please join in.
Sai Kiran, again, how are you bringing the CEO's perspective?
Like taking the consumer's feedback and adopting and taking the repetitive innovations. So this helps the company to generate the development and the profit.
Okay, but as a CEO, what are you doing in this?
Collecting the feedbacks from the consumers.
Okay.
Yeah. And supporting the innovations.
How?
Based upon the consumers' feedback, we can innovate the tools which fulfill their needs.
Then you're being an innovator. How are you being CEO? You're doing it alone. But as a CEO, when you're thinking for a larger group. Okay. I appreciate the efforts, Sai Kiran. You can give it some thought. Over to you, Mansa.
Everyone would have heard about JSMIS. It's a BTech college. Initially, they did not have any investment and they were almost closing up the college. But look at the college now. What exactly happened in between? What kind of idea did they have? What kind of strategy did they have, which helped them to turn the tables? In order to know the strategies that they used, you can join my room.
How is this connected to design thinking?
Being an organization, what kind of strategies did they use? What kind of different ideas did they come up with? It helps the whole organization.
How is this connected to design thinking?
It helps you to come up with different ideas, right?
Okay. But
in order to solve the problem.
What design thinking used here? Okay, I can give you some time to think about it, Mansa. Yeah.
Okay.
Audio, Aryan.
Yeah. First of all, are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, Parachet, yes.
Imagine you are a new food delivery app. Would you like to grow fast like Swiggy, or would you be careful of how you manage your money? To explore how design thinking can bridge the gap between finance and growth, join my room.
Okay, thank you, Aryan. Now, what do you, Apurva?
Let's see how we can implement and internalize the mindset of our team by taking forward a humanistic approach for our team members so that we can revolve in the non-linear loop of design thinking and have a linear progression to be a CEO.
Sorry, can you go over that again?
Let's see how we can implement and internalize the mindset of our team by taking forward a humanistic approach for our team members so that we can revolve in the non-linear loop of design thinking and have a linear progression to be a CEO.
Okay, can you simplify that a bit, please?
Okay, so we have other thinking like critical thinking, empirical thinking, system thinking, but design thinking has a more humanistic approach because the first step is empathizing with the user or anyone like with the team.
Sure, design thinking brings in humanistic thinking, but as a CEO, what are you doing with this?
We can focus more on empathizing with our team members so that we have better communication and efficiency.
But that's again being a good individual, right? How are you being a CEO there? Of course, a CEO is also an individual, but how are you being a CEO there? This is learning how to be a good individual.
By empathizing with my employees as a CEO.
How many?
Sorry?
How many employees?
As much as possible.
How? How will you empathize with 1,000 employees?
Yeah.
Not possible. That's exactly what is the CEO level thinking I'm talking of, right? Okay, guys, you might be wondering why I'm playing the villain today. Okay, somebody even came and gave me a dhamki that Tarun, don't ask questions. LDI participation is coming down. Right. Let me tell you why I'm asking these questions. Right. I'm really sorry if I'm putting you guys down. Trust me, that's not the intent, and trust me, you guys will not go down. Right. I'm sure you're all quite courageous. See, you guys are all participating in very high quality learning drills, right? Where you introduce these concepts. Now, 5 years down the line, let's say, I mean, I don't know whether you'll be in a startup or a corporate, but let us say, even if you're in a corporate, you resign your job, and then let's say a group of small businesses, right, invites you and asks you to join as a chief marketing officer or chief technology officer or chief product officer. And they give you the funds and they give you like a 40-member team. Would you want to be ready for that position? Is this an important thing for you right now? Is this a high priority thing for you right now? Because unless you start working on yourself from today, you won't get there 5 years later. So Shahnaz, let me ask you, since you asked me an interesting question last Saturday, would you want to get yourself to a position after 5 years where if someone says entire technology of my company is in your hands and I'll give you a 40-member team, you build the tech and deliver. Do you want to be ready for that responsibility?
Yes.
But what if I tell you that you have to start preparing from today?
I will start preparing from today itself. Otherwise, I can't reach there in 5 years, maybe.
So one way to prepare for that, Shahnaz, is don't just think for yourself, think for Manish, think for Rahul, think for everyone else over here, right? So yes, as Apurva said, I'll go empathize with people. That's easy to do when you have 2 people or 5 people. That's easy to do when you have 1 project or 2 projects. When you have 20 projects going on in parallel, there's no way you can empathize. There's no way you can say, I'm a Superman, I'll go everywhere, I'll do everything and so on. That's where your systems, processes, culture, all these things come in. That's why I'm questioning everyone on how they're thinking from a CEO level. Now, if you look at Rishabh, right, what is his pitch? His pitch is how are you going to use technology? How are you going to, drive your marketing properly? What are your teams going to be doing? What are the strategies you're going to have and so on? I mean, I'm not telling more because I'll be spoiler, but that's exactly what he's doing for DT right now. Setting up systems that so many other people can use and, execute. So we want you guys to think at that level, process, system, or culture. Because when you have 100 people, when you have 100, see, right now I have 63 people on the Zoom link. I have about 70 learners. I can't go and personally talk to everyone, right? Although I do try. But that's where LDI is a cultural element. Thread building is a, process we're following. So this process, system, and culture will help us do this at a scale. I hope you guys understand why we are trying to bring that scale level thinking. Yeah. So we've heard some pitches. I think 11 pitches are through. Nitin, Harshvardhan, Swanand, Saurav, Mohit, Shavan, Aryan, Rishabh, Harsh, English, Riddhi. Anybody who wants to go second shot can go ahead.
Can I go in, Tarun?
Yeah, Samida, please go ahead.
Do you want to just fix the problems that you are facing in your project, or do you want to identify such problems that everybody is facing and develop frameworks that can help you solve it for the for your entire team or for the entire company? Let's discuss how to identify the exact problem instead of just looking at the symptoms of that problem in my room.
Again, you're being an individual problem solver then, no?
Like if we're developing frameworks that by identifying problem that a lot of people are facing, won't that help like solve that problem for the entire company?
Sure, Samida, you're in. Anyone who wants to go next?
Can I
Can I
go
try?
next?
Yeah, Gaurav. And then Manaswini.
Okay. So, join my room to understand how to encourage the team to conduct user research, gather insight, spot any bottlenecks, and develop empathy, ensuring that the solutions developed are truly user-centric.
What's the size of the team, Gaurav?
Sorry?
Size of the team you're talking of.
My team size?
You said you'll encourage your team to do UX research and all. No, what's the size of the team you're talking of?
Where is? No.
10, 20?
Yeah, something like that.
Then that's not CEO level thinking. CEO has to
Got
think
that.
methods that can impact 1,000 at least. So what are you going to do to impact 1,000? I mean, to enable 1,000 to do UX research, to empathize and all, what will you do?
So I'll come back to you with the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to take a second shot? Yeah, Manaswini, go ahead.
Do you want to know how encouraging the culture of cross-functional collaboration in teams will help an organization grow and gain different perspectives than that?
Yeah, how are you linking it to design thinking?
Okay, so when you do cross-functional collaboration, there's obviously like designers that are also collaborating with different people, and you're imbibing the design thinking process as well because you're constantly experimenting with new ideas and trying to figure out solutions.
Do designers necessarily do design thinking, and are designers the only ones who practice design thinking?
No, but when you do cross-functional collaboration, you're constantly experimenting, right? You're constantly listening to different perspectives.
Not necessary, right? You're listening to perspectives, but doesn't mean you're experimenting. And is experimentation alone design thinking?
No, of course not. It's a process.
So I like the idea of nurturing cross-functional culture, but how are you bringing design thinking into this? Okay.
I'll think about it.
Thank you, Manaswini. Anyone else who wants to take a second shot?
Yeah, can I?
Can I?
Mansa can go next, yeah, Mitali.
Yeah, so for the example, for an organizational problem could be low productivity, and an individual problems could be lack of clarity, not participating in learning drills. So we can club those into one, and then we can develop solutions.
How? What kind of solution?
Okay, so here we can club the problems related to courses. So the courses can be one main problem, and now we are conducting courses, so there might be some problem with the courses. So then we'll try to come up with various solutions. For example, modifying the structure of the courses, let's say keeping 3 people on the moderation, one as a buffer, and
Sure.
and implementing that framework of activities and making sure the implementation is being focused upon more rather than just the concepts.
Fair enough. I think what you're talking of is need-based L&D, where from the operations you're trying to understand what is the need for learning and development and executing the learning and development around the operations. That's a good perspective. Yeah, Mitali, welcome. Mansa, you can go in for your second shot.
Yeah, everyone would have heard about JSMIS. Initially, they did not have any investment, and they were almost closing up the institution. And now, what happened? What strategies did they use? And right now, they are coming up with a new hiring process. How did they open up an entirely new way of hiring? How did they use design thinking for this hiring process? In order to know more, you can join my room.
How did they use design thinking? What was the design thinking elements they used in this process?
The steps of design thinking, Tarun.
What steps?
I'm gonna tell about the principles of design thinking. How did they come up with the idea? How did this help the whole organization and also the person who is hired? At the same time, they're learning and teaching.
What is the design thinking step they used?
It is what the students need, right? User-centric mostly.
Then how is this strategy level thinking? You're just saying they did user-centric problem solving. Okay, good attempt, Mansa. So,
sorry. I would like, yeah, I would like to just try it out again. So, problem is everywhere, and how to even understand a problem, how to think like a CEO to identify if there is a problem. As problem is everywhere, similarly in DT teams, we are facing a lot of problems. How to identify the problems in each teams? Let join my room to brainstorm and think in a design thinking way to find solutions for each of the teams.
okay, how are you being a CEO here? I mean, how are you thinking for 1,000 people here?
Yeah, so as I said, there are problems in different teams in DT. So how we can actually find out those problems and implement the design thinking and find a solution is what we're focusing in the room.
100 teams. If you're thinking for 1,000 members and 200 teams, how will you implement solutions for 200 teams?
Separately. So
you won't have the time and bandwidth to implement 200 solutions.
Okay. Maybe giving a proper clarity on how to exactly identify the problem, like what the exact core problem is, from identify the problem from its root would be something we will focus.
200 teams.
Yes, sorry.
How will you implement the solution in 200 teams?
That's what we can explore in the room, I believe.
I would want to at least get a teaser so you know it's not tangential.
Okay. How to implement in with by making sure it's okay. To implement it within a team of 200, we have to first inform them about the vision of this entire organization. Once
sounding nice but not practical. This is not how things happen at a scale. I really appreciate the effort you have taken. Congratulations, you have attempted twice, but no, I think we'll have to fine tune how you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one last chance for someone who wants to take a second shot.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yes, Sanchi, go ahead.
Design thinking once was a toolkit used by product managers, but now it is used by CEOs for a strategic approach. Let's learn how CEO uses design thinking and what's their approach to solve a problem. Let's learn and discuss from, let's discuss and learn from Mark Parker, the CEO of Nike, who initially was a designer. If you want to know more, come to my room.
So what are you going to discuss? What organization strategy?
Okay, so he as a CEO still still is involved in lots of decision making. He sits at the table with his employees to decide and create new ideas. He also does a lot of sketching by himself as well. So I'm going to discuss about that.
That is him still being a designer. But but as a CEO, how did he use design thinking? That is, he as a designer used design thinking, right? But as a CEO, so CEO scope is a lot bigger. Process, system, L&D, maybe in some places, culture. Okay,
understood.
Okay, I think guys will not have reflections today. We'll just have the LDI and we'll close. So I'm going in with my pitch. I think a lot of you went on tangents. Anybody who wants to figure out how these things work for real and how to think like a CEO and how to think at a scale, you can come into my room where you can see how design thinking principles can help you otherwise stay sane in a place which will keep eating you, because as a CEO, you're looking at multiple functions at the same time. There are too many people, there's too much coming your way. And it's like, it's too much and it's coming too quickly. When too much is coming to you too quickly, how do you use design thinking to equip people around you so that lot lesser stuff comes in and comes in slowly? So the systems and process to achieve it, I'll discuss it in my room. Happy to talk to you guys.